I'm always looking for you. I'm like,
We have
How does the shot look? We got everybody?
you got the Starbucks in there too?
we got the
Um, Kevin, are we, let us know when we're live here.
fix that.
Well, and then
We're live.
I'm going to
Okay,
be
great.
the chair for the UCC.
We're live on live stream. Is you guys all set?
I'm gonna give you my.
All right.
Yes, that would be great.
Great, thank you. Thank you, good morning. I know we're running a bit late, so we want to get started. I want to thank everybody for being here, our county supervisors, Amy Bach, and our wonderful neighbors here around Oakland to talk about a significant conversation that must be had at the statewide level. Since I took office as insurance commissioner in January, much of my time has been dedicated to addressing the growing wildfire insurance crisis in California. I've spent the past months going across the state, touring damaged and threatened communities across the state, meeting with local officials, business, and real estate leaders, and talking to more than 2,000 homeowners and residents who have been non-renewed by their insurer and struggle to find new coverage. I'm hearing the same story again and again. People have been dropped by their insurance companies after decades of premium payment and loyalty, and even when there has never been a claim filed. I have heard the same story again and again. People have been dropped by their insurance companies after decades, and this needs to stop. I want to share with you a couple stories of some of the folks that we met during our travels. Candy Thompson of Amador County, a real estate broker who was ready to close a deal until she received the insurance premium quote, which was 4 times the amount the buyer expected. The buyer was a single mom of 4 kids who had no choice but to go to the FAIR plan, and with an additional policy to meet the lender's requirements, with the policies totaling close to $4,000 a year. That pushed her debt ratio above the lending guidelines, and she lost her house. Roy of El Dorado Hills, a disabled veteran who was also asked us for help. He and his wife lived in a fixed income and have been quoted as much as $12,000 a year for fire and home insurance. This simply cannot balance the homeowner's insurance cost along with their other necessities. John of Tuolumne County, a former firefighter who has insured defensible space around his home, a fire hydrant on his property, and one across the street, and was just non-renewed. The quotes he received would have tripled his insurance costs, and he would have, unfortunately, less coverage. This is the reality that so many Californians are living today. To add insult to injury, many consumers struggle to find new coverage because many insurers are limiting where they are willing to write policies across the state. Today we are at the home of Elizabeth and Sean Coffey. Thank you for opening your home with us today. First-time home buyers with 2 young children. They thought they had found their dream home until the non-renewal notice started coming. Year after year, until their only option was to go to the FAIR plan, our state's insurer of last resort. Today, they are paying too much for insurance that does not cover enough. A lot of people think this is about Malibu mansions or Tahoe ski chalets, but it is neighborhoods like this where the insurance crisis is really hitting home. These insurance and non-renewals threaten home values, tax revenues for emergency services, and the integrity of many California communities. Many people mistakenly believe this is a rural community issue. I'm here to tell you that that is not true. This is a statewide issue that is affecting both rural and urban areas across the entire state of California. In the 7 counties from San Diego to Sierra, the number of non-renewals rose more than 10% last year. And we can only expect more to come as the numbers continue to come in from the 2019 fires. With years of drought, climate change, and increased building in wildland-urban interface, the insurance emergency has been years in the making, but it is one that we must deal with absolutely now. So today I am calling for a 1-year statewide moratorium on wildfire-related non-renewals in order to give consumers temporary breathing room while we work on lasting solutions. Today's action has two parts. First, thanks to the Wildfire Safety Recovery Act, a law that I authored last year as state senator, I have issued a mandatory moratorium on non-renewals for those affected by recent wildfire disasters. More than 800,000 homes and apartments in our state to give millions of people additional time to recover and assess their individual situations. If you live near one of the devastating fires, you now have an automatic year of protection if your home survived, and more importantly, if you suffered a total loss. Second, I am asking insurers to extend a voluntary moratorium on non-renewals due to wildfire risk for homeowners, renters, and businesses anywhere in the state through December 5th, 2020, because I believe everyone in the state deserves this same breathing room. This year, we suffered 16 wildfire emergencies across the state, with hundreds of thousands forced out of their homes and living weeks without any power. We do not need insurance non-renewals to cause even more crisis in our communities. California has a strong insurance market. Let me reiterate that. California has a strong and thriving insurance market with robust competition overall. This is the right time to strike and the right thing to do for our consumers. I want to thank Governor Newsom for his leadership and recognizing the seriousness of this nature. Governor Newsom's emergency declarations in October triggered the new law to help homeowners affected by wildfires. This includes the statewide emergency declaration due to high winds, the high wind event that sparked multiple fires and mass evacuations. I would also like to thank Cal OES and Cal Fire for working with us under the new law to determine the fire perimeters needed to identify the affected areas. Today we are announcing 7 fire perimeters, but there are more to come as Cal Fire continues to review the data. So what does this mean for policyholders? If you live near one of the October wildfires, you can go on the Department of Insurance website today and we will have posted a list of zip codes. If you do not see the zip code listed, know that we are still working with CAL FIRE to identify the remaining areas. If you live in one of the zip codes and received a non-renewal notice since the October fires, your insurance company must withdraw that notice immediately. And if you do not live in a wildfire disaster, but you still live with wildfire risk, I am asking your insurance company to do the right thing. Today's announcement builds upon the actions I took last month by ordering the FAIR Plan to strengthen its coverage. When insurance companies drop customers, many have nowhere but the FAIR Plan, California's insured safety net. The state of California set up the FAIR Plan in the 1960s for those who cannot find insurance. The plan is funded by insurance companies writing a homeowners insurance business in California and not by taxpayers. Insurance companies cannot have it both ways. They cannot non-renew homeowners and then force them on the FAIR Plan, which is inadequate and limited in coverage. The FAIR Plan needs to modernize to meet the challenges of wildfires and California's increased cost of living. So let me be clear the actions we are taking today. A year after the Camp Fire destroyed the town of Paradise, we face the real possibility that towns and whole neighborhoods across the state will be decimated, not only by fire, but by the inability to obtain affordable insurance for their homes. The legislature has stepped up and passed bills that will help promote mitigation and home hardening and give people more time before they are non-renewed. But these will take time to implement. And our governor said this very clearly, we must do more. So if we want this to be a temporary disruption and not a permanent for the state of our insurance market, we must take bold actions now. The actions I have taken are designed to help consumers, insurers, the legislature, and our community in a time and give us enough time to resolve these issues before this crisis continues to exacerbate through our entire state. It is time we come together to address this threat so that we can preserve our communities, protect our investment, and keep California strong. Thank you for being here. And now we're going to hear from...
We'll hear from Sean.
From Sean. Thank you so much, Sean. Appreciate your time.
Good morning. My name is Sean Coffey. We were first-time home buyers, and before we bought our house, we had renter's insurance. So I mistakenly assumed that our renter's insurance company would want to keep us as customers, and I found out that was not the case. A day or two before we closed on our house, I was scrambling and calling insurance brokers and insurance companies to try and get insurance because we had to have it in order to buy the house, and I probably talked to 6 or 7 different companies. We finally found insurance, and that was good, but it was only for about 10 months, and then we got a notice that our company was dropping us. They wouldn't be renewing us. So we shopped around, found another one, and this was a pattern that has repeated itself almost every year since we bought our house. We have insurance for about 10 months, and then in the fall we get a notice that we're getting dropped. This past year, our broker suggested that we go on the FAIR plan for this year. That was $1,500, and then you have to buy a separate policy to cover everything else like water or anything that's not fire related. I just got a notice a few weeks ago that if we want to stay on the FAIR plan, our policy premium is going to go up $600. My wife and I both work at a nonprofit. We have 2 young kids. This is a big budget item for us. It's our second biggest one after property taxes, and it's just really bad when you don't know how much the prices are going to go up, and you don't know if your insurance company is going to drop you. I know I'm talking about my experience here today, but I can also say that this is a frequent issue on Nextdoor in our neighborhood. Every few weeks, somebody writes in and says that they've either been dropped or that their premiums are doubling or even going higher. So I'm really excited to hear that the Commissioner is taking steps to help homeowners like us today. Thanks.
Good morning. My name is Amy Bach, and I co-founded and run a national nonprofit called United Policyholders. And the reason that I'm here is that through our Roadmap to Preparedness and Roadmap to Recovery programs, we are on the ground hearing from consumers every day about the problems that they're having with their insurance, and we are there to try to help solve them. We partner very closely with the department, and I fully support all the remarks that the Commissioner made and the initiatives that he is announcing today. For the very simple reason that insurance is not a luxury, home insurance, it's a necessity. And when the market starts to fail people, when the private competitive market starts to fail, the regulator has to step in. We requested this temporary moratorium because we want to see the robust market do its job. We want to see competition come back or stay in the state, because that is the best for consumers. It's great that we have a FAIR plan as a last resort option, but because the coverage is expensive and very thin, we much prefer to have people be in the private market where they can get that advantage of competition. But when Sean Coffey reached out to our organization, it was because he completed a survey that we did. And the problem is statewide. It's not, it did start largely in rural areas, but it is very much now in suburban areas as well. So I'm very hopeful that the combination of the initiatives that the department has undertaken, and there's not just one, but there are 3 now, that the department and Commissioner Lara are doing exactly what our organization has been asking, which is in the here and now, people need help, because this is a very crushing economic challenge for homeowners around the state. So we're delivering them some relief today, and I hope that as a result, I hope the carriers will abide by the moratorium and say, okay, let's get some breathing room, because we do need a statewide mitigation program so people can take some more responsibility to make their homes more fire resistant, but then know that if they do that, they're going to be rewarded by getting to keep their insurance and have that insurance be affordable. So while we work on getting that mitigation program up and running, we need some breathing room. So I'm very hopeful that and also the fact that, people don't realize, that they think, well, I've been paying premiums all these years, as the Commissioner was saying. I didn't even make a claim. How can all that money have gone down the drain and now I'm bare? So people didn't understand that insurers pretty much have an unfettered right to choose who they want to have as a customer and who they don't, as long as they give them notice. So not only has the Commissioner helped to give people more notice so they have more time to shop, but he is working very proactively to find all the solutions. So I want to thank all of you for coming out. I want to thank like the elected representatives from the areas that have been hit hard, and just know we're all getting a big education in home insurance, like it or not, and it needs some fixing. So thank you very much, Commissioner.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Commissioner Lara, more than anything. I find it crazy ironic sitting here with Amy. United Policyholders was actually created after the Oakland Hills fire in 1991 to help support our communities that go through disaster on these kinds of issues. And you've been with us every step of the way. I'm James Gore. I'm a county supervisor in Sonoma County. We've had 2 catastrophic wildfires in the last 3 years. We've had floods intermixed in between that, and we're ready to take on anything else, whether it's locusts, earthquakes, or the like. But the reality is that beyond the disasters that we face in our communities, there's a different disaster that's going on, and it's the disaster of the uncertainty and the movements around in the insurance market. That's why, as I stand here as not only a county supervisor Sonoma, but also the officer for the California State Association of Counties, I look behind me and I have Supervisor Kelly Long from Ventura, fires in the Thomas fire down there. I have Supervisor Sue Novosel from El Dorado County up in the hills. We have Supervisor Lee Adams from Sierra. We also have County Executive from Placer County, Todd Leopold. And we are sitting here because we have to be united in doing what's right by our people. These are not just our constituents. These are our neighbors. Actually, these are our families. This is our own homes. You have to have homeowners insurance to be able to get a mortgage. When we play this game where you have people just like our dear homeowner here, but on the other side, Matt, who lives in my district, who got a non-renewal in the middle of summer, and his policies went from $2,000 to $11,000 as premiums in a year, and you're 2 months away from fire season, he has no ability to plan for his family and his safety. That puts people in a crazy state of unknown, and that is the side of the new normal that we cannot let happen. So we are here applauding this effort. This is 800,000 or more policies, 140,000 in my own community that will be protected for a year going forward. But we all know that a heck of a lot more is needed. So we are here to demand and to ask and to cajole and do whatever we can to say more partnership. This is not profit over public safety. We can't just pick and choose. We have to do what's right. We have to live up to the spirit of the law and the spirit of what insurance is all about. And we have the right champion in Commissioner Lara. We have the right partnership with us. And we're ready to sit down and negotiate with the insurance companies about what comes next. Thank you all very much.
I know we started late, but there's 1 or 2 questions, and then you guys can follow up.
Go ahead.
This is going to be good news for a lot of homeowners, but what do you say to them who are looking at this and saying, okay, I have a year, but what happens after that? What's to prevent the insurance companies from reverting back?
Right. No, it's a great question. But this year becomes very important because it gives people time to plan, to shop around, to look at what their options are, as opposed to what happens now, where you get the notice, you get 45 days, now 75 days to make a decision. That is not enough time. We have been asking the legislature to actually give homeowners 180 days on top of the 45 days to give them time to think and figure out what they're going to do and what's the best plan for them and their family. So this year goes a long way. The other thing that we've been hearing as we've traveled the entire state are people, what can we do now? We need reprieve now, not wait until the legislature reconvenes. So this year gives them an opportunity to at least not worry about not being non-renewed, and gives us an opportunity as elected officials, community activists, community leaders, to work with the legislature who's given us all the signals that they're willing to have these conversations and to engage the insurance industry, to have that meaningful dialogue that needs to happen so that we come up with strategies, whether it is mandating insurance coverage if you harden your home, which we feel is appropriate. It is the right and fair thing to do. We're not asking the insurance companies to cover everyone, but we're saying if you've done the investment in your property to harden your home, that you've spent that money, that you are going to be guaranteed coverage. It is a fair thing. So many times even the insurance companies come in, ask homeowners to do certain modifications, and they still get dropped. So we're asking for some we're asking for some leverage here. This bill gives us, and this moratorium gives us a little bit more leverage to bring the insurance industry here, have the dialogue, and gives us time so that we can assess our situation and continue to promulgate solutions for this ongoing problem.
What change in the law a year from now do you think should go into effect?
So I think
Companies can't keep doing this.
absolutely. So we need transparency in the fire risk scores. We need to make sure that that consumers know how to mitigate their score if they get a fire score all of a sudden. Right now, we have no way of knowing the justification for your fire risk score, for example. There's no opportunity for homeowners to be able to assess to lessen that score. And quite honestly, the Department of Insurance doesn't have the ability to look at what was the reasoning or the modeling behind these fire risk scores. We want to make sure, again, like I said earlier, that people who have done everything to harden their home, that they're going to be guaranteed some sort of coverage in the admitted market. And we also want the FAIR plan to be a robust H03 policy that provides comprehensive coverage for folks that are going to be in the FAIR plan. So many people are sent to the FAIR plan and then they say like, well, shop around. It's ridiculous. People are making calls and they don't even get a call back. So the FAIR plan becomes their only choice. The FAIR plan should be a comprehensive coverage so that people don't have to keep buying the wraparound policies that, guess what? Consumers keep paying an administrative fee on top of administrative fee. So these are some of the changes we want to see and take this year to get those done for consumers.
Would you like the insurance companies to pay more into the FAIR plan going forward?
We want the FAIR plan to be a robust policy, and it is up for the department to look at, obviously make sure it's robust and it has enough revenues to make sure we pay out claims. And we do that already with the FAIR plan. We want them to modernize. We know that the FAIR plan no longer meets the needs of the current situation for our homeowners. So just as everything has to modernize, given this new reality that we're in, we have to make sure that they create these changes. And so we want the insurers, given the fact that, by the way, previous to these bad 3 years that we've had, have made a lot of revenue and have been very, very successful. And we want them to, now share in this, collective pain that we're all in. But it's not fair to drop consumers after years of loyalty or without even giving them a justification or giving them a fire risk score that we can't verify, that people don't have any opportunity to mitigate that score or lessen it. So there's a lot of things we have in store for this year, and we want to get done with the collaboration of our county supervisors and our community leaders.
Are there any other questions?
Can I just ask you what the headline here today you would say?
I think the headline today is, many California homeowners get much needed reprieve. It's long in waiting. We were waiting for the governor to declare these state of emergencies that kicked in my legislation. And for so many people, this means that it's going to be another year. They're going to have this year to plan, to not worry about what the future holds for their policy. And again, allowing them to make these decisions and plan for the future is critical. And this is happening all over the state. The clear message here is this is a California problem. It is still one that is manageable, I believe. It is one that we can address and we could work with the legislature and the governor to obtain. But this year is going to be critical. And I think putting this moratorium in play brings the insurance companies into the fold and forces them into the conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. We'll be around for a few minutes if anyone has
Thank you.
Thank you.
So this new plan, will that go
coffee. There's coffee.